Hey everybody, RC here. I wanted to talk to you about some of the features for designers that I happen to find very, very interesting inside of the new Photoshop. Let's go ahead and take a look at those step by step. Right off the bat, you're going to notice that if you're using a Retina display or anything that has high DPI, this version of Photoshop really looks good. So you have a lot of sharp graphics and you have a program that now is taking advantage of a lot of those high resolution displays. So right off the bat, it looks beautiful. That's a good start. However, they have done some stuff when you're working inside of the document. Take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and just open up a straight document right here, and I'll go ahead and I'll zoom in. And it's these little things for designers that actually helps. I want to be able to make sure that I can control stuff and move stuff from one application to another. What do I mean by control stuff? Something as simple as making a rounded rectangle, right? If I would try to make a rounded rectangle in the past, I would have to kind of go in there and find a good way for me to be able to adjust that rectangle before I even make it, right? So my radius at the top, I would go, all right, well, it's going to be 30, and then I'll change that. Well, no, it's going to be, I don't know, let's make it 75. I'll change that. But that's annoying, right? I want to be able to change that after the fact. So now the ability to be able to do this and set something up and have these options available to me after the fact, I think are great. So right here, you have the option to change all of those radiuses after the shape has been completed. So in here, let's just say, for example, that I want this one to be 150 pixels on the top right. As you change that, that information changes in this one section. Rather than going in and using a direct select tool and moving stuff around, you can kind of do it a little bit more numerically. Now, that's good for web designers because now you can go ahead and actually use numbers to calculate the graphic that you want. Once that's done, you're going to need to take that and you're going to need to move that onto the web. Maybe you're a designer that's making buttons or a UI layout. So the best way for you to do that is with another feature that allows you to copy CSS. So right here inside of the layers panel, you can go ahead and you can right click right on this and you'll see that you have an option called copy CSS. This takes the properties of these individual shapes or text or anything that you're doing inside of a Photoshop layout and it turns it into CSS values. Now, if I were to go into, let's say, a text editor, I can go in here and go to edit and I can go to paste. And you'll see that all of that information has been copied over. This is going to be a boon for anybody who's doing website design or UI design because now you can more accurately take the stuff that you have in Photoshop and move it over into something like this. Another thing that I think that's really, really good here is your ability to be able to work with multiple paths. Let me show you what the problem was in the past. If I were working with a pen tool and I were making a set of paths, I'm just going to go ahead and make a couple of different paths, right? So I'll go ahead and I'll make this one line. And right from here, I'll go into the paths panel. I have a work path set up and I'll click on path 1. I'll go ahead and deselect and I'm just going to make a simple path over here. I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to call it path 2. I'll make a third path. Well, actually here, let's deselect it. I'll come over here and I'll make a third path and I'm going to call this one path 3. Now, if I needed to do any kind of work, layout, I needed to copy it, I needed to duplicate all of these different types of outlining that I had, I would have to select one or select a second one or select a third one, but I would never have the option to select more than one. So now inside of this version of Photoshop, you can go ahead and you can select more than one. So now I have 3 different paths selected right inside of Photoshop. What's even better is that I can take these and I can drag them and duplicate them 3 at a time. So this is something that's a little bit more time saving and something that's a little bit more efficient because you could have different types of outlines that you want to go ahead and quickly duplicate over and over and over. Lastly, I can even grab individual paths and drag them into the trash. I'll grab this one here. I'm going to shift click this one. And once we have that, I can go ahead and bring that down. So these are also design things that I think that are great. Now, one of the last things that I think that's really, really good here is Adobe's really tying the acquisition of Behance right inside of Photoshop. So if you're a designer, you're probably pretty familiar with the Behance website where you can show your projects and you can show different things that you're working on and different levels of progress from it. So imagine if you were working on a graphic design project and you were just treating something, and once you're done, you're like, all right, I'm going to take it over to Behance and I want to work with that and I want to be able to show it off. Right from here, you can go to File and click on Share on Behance, and you can move that project right over into the Behance website. So these are things that are good changes for any kind of designer that's looking to be able to make their workflow a little bit easier, a little bit faster, and share on the web with the new version of Photoshop.